African American friend of mine recently asked me why Africans don't like African Americans. This is a question that I've gotten over the years from African Americans, and today I will attempt to answer that question from my perspective. We're all familiar with the term divide and conquer. Hold on to that because I'm going to come back to it towards the end of my video. First, I want to share my experience of African Americans. It all started in the late 80s into the 90s as a young girl watching television, watching TV shows, music videos, and movies. I used to love TV shows like Family Matters, The Cosby Show, The Fresh Prince, Martin. My older brother loved Martin so much that my nephew is called Martin. Watching those TV shows made me feel like I was watching myself. That was representation to me because the characters looked like me. The Cosby Show was aspirational. It was, the story of this aspirational Black family. Characters like Laura from Family Matters, who was older than me at the time that I was watching it, felt like I would like to be that kind of teenager. Just after I graduated university, a friend of mine and I had an opportunity to take part in a work travel program which took us to Ohio, where we stayed for 6 months and we worked at McDonald's. So the idea behind this program was to experience life in America. I had the time of my life. Honestly, I don't think I've ever had such a fun work experience. Most of our coworkers were Black, and we experienced so much hospitality. Everyone was eager to help us settle in, help us get acclimatized. Even the bus driver whose bus we would ride every single morning greeted us with so much love. He was very interested to know who we were and where we came from. One lady in particular stands out. She didn't work with us, but she was a customer who lived across the road. Every few weeks, she would come in during our shift and tell us that when we knock off, we should come over to her house because she had prepared a meal for us. For me, coming from watching TV as a young girl to coming and actually living and working with African Americans, it was a positive experience. I stress hospitality so much because for me, I believe hospitality is a culture thing. The way you welcome and receive people in your space speaks a lot for your culture. As fate would have it, within a month of me being in Ohio, I had a boyfriend and we were so in love. He was a wonderful person. His family was wonderful. His mom loved me. His older sister loved me. When I was around him and his family, I felt so much at home. After a couple of years working at home, I had another opportunity to move to Japan and teach English. In Japan, I was young, in my salad days when I loved partying and going out to the club. I had a lot of African American friends and friends from the Caribbean. And when I was with them, I felt like I was with my friends back at home. We had such a sisterhood. We went out, we looked out for each other, we made sure that no one was left behind. We'd get ready for our night out, we'd be swapping clothes, helping each other with our hair, and a few times I would catch myself wanting to speak Setswana to them. Like I felt the way that I felt with my friends back at home, that I wanted to speak to them in my mother tongue. Since that boyfriend I had in Ohio in my 20s, I've had one or two more African American boyfriends, and all I can say is love, 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 love. It's all love. I'll say this about African American women: you are the most creative, industrious, kind, generous people that I have ever met. And I have you to thank for my natural hair journey. About 20 years ago, when I was transitioning to natural hair, I consumed so much content on YouTube made by these beautiful, creative African American sisters. I read this wonderful book called The Science of Black Hair, which I still have. Going natural was a life-changing journey for me, and I will forever be grateful. Back to divide and conquer. One of the things that struck me after being in Ohio for 6 months was just how similar our experiences had been. Slavery versus colonization. You know, I used to have a lot of African American friends who were very curious about their history and, where their people came from, say to me that we are lucky to be in Africa where we still have our culture, where we know our history. As much as I agreed with that, I'd explained that because we never wrote our history books, the education system that we went through wasn't our own, we still experienced alienation from ourselves. Now in 2026 in Botswana, and I'm sure in other African countries, regardless of the colonial language that they speak, a lot of the children of my generation don't speak their mother tongue. Like in English speaking Africa, a lot of children only speak only speak English. What does that tell you about the regard that we have for our history and our culture? The mechanisms of slavery and colonization were the same, and they achieved the same objectives. One thing that experience in America sparked in me was a curiosity about the history of African Americans. For many years, I consumed a lot of African American history, particularly from the civil rights era. And the way I feel about Steve Biko is the same way I feel about Malcolm X. The same way I feel about Angela Davis, I feel about Mama Willie. They gave up fear and they gave up their lives so I could be in the world and have an experience that they could have never imagined. I remember 20 years ago writing in my diary about how important it is to bridge the gap between African Americans and Africans. And in 2026, I still feel the same way, but I would say bridging the gap between Africans in the diaspora. Every single day, there are foreigners from Asia, from Europe, coming through African borders to come and invest. What difference it would make if the people coming to invest look like us? I think when African Americans have felt like Africans don't like them, it's a matter of misunderstanding. We judge each other off behavior, not understanding each other's cultures or background. I think the hatred also stems from pure classicism. When I was getting ready to go on that work travel program, my boss at the time was a colored man, yes, a biracial man who had lived in America for over 20 years. So he called me into his office to come give me a pep talk about dating in America. And he said to me, be careful when you get to America because everybody there speaks English, which will make it difficult for you to discern who is for you and who isn't. Where I'm from, we rank each other according to how well you speak English. The more fluently you speak English, the more you are ranked higher. If you speak English with a strong African accent, it doesn't matter how much sense you're making, you're ranked lower. Why? The capturing of the African mind. So I can imagine when some well-to-do Africans move to America, they may look down on African Americans who they feel are of a lower socio-economic status. Classicism exists across all ethnic groups. It exists in Africa. We are classist towards our neighbors. So Example, in Botswana and South Africa, makwerekwere is a derogatory word for foreigners that we use to refer to, Africans who we rank lower than us. Of course, we don't use this word to describe foreigners from Europe or from Asia. Makhoa is a word that we use to describe white people. The word literally means those who were spat out by the sea, meaning those who came by ship. And if you want to compliment another Motswana and tell them how sophisticated they are, you would refer to them as a Lekhoa. These are the manifestations of dividing and conquering. Dividing and conquering happens first on an individual level. An individual's physical is separated from their mental and spiritual. So if I don't like myself, how am I going to like other people that look like me? The systems of colonization and slavery are working at their most optimal levels because we, Black people, are perpetuating them on our own. Sadly, at times we don't even realize it. The way to neutralize a people who would be so much stronger together is to divide them, and our mental conditioning does just that. So much deliberate action was taken to get us to this mental state, and so much deliberate action needs to be taken for us to undo that conditioning. And the first place to start would be, don't believe the lies. Africans do not hate African Americans. The more we are in contact with each other and in contact from a place of being curious and wanting to understand, the more we'll get to see that we are more similar than we are different. I hope that shed some light on that misconception. I don't have all the answers. Mostly I have questions.